Hello and welcome to NewsClick. Today we have with us Professor Mridula Mukherjee, well-known historian, and we'll discuss the current controversy about the RSS and its possible links with Mahatma Gandhi's assassination. This has become an issue because this case has been in court against Rahul Gandhi when he talked about the association of Nathuram Godse with the RSS. What is the truth of this? Was RSS involved in Mahatma Gandhi's assassination?
I think it's the way one poses the question, Was RSS as an organization involved in Gandhi's assassination? We don't know. We do not know and we cannot say. So as a historian, my answer to that would be the historical evidence so far does not enable us to say that there was a clear-cut direction or decision that this should happen. What we do know is that a very important leader of the Hindu Mahasabha, the head who had been the president, that Savarkar, was personally involved because the Jeevan Lal Kapoor commission, which was set up in 1965, categorically says that it was a conspiracy hatched by Savarkar and his group that led to the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. What we do also know is that the links between the RSS and the Hindu Mahasabha were as close as between the BJP and the RSS, or the Jan Sangh and the RSS.
Jan Sangh was formed later in 51.
Later. So because these are the progeny, if you like, of the Hindu Mahasabha. The Hindu Mahasabha was sort of forgotten and kept to the side once they were tainted with the suspicion of the murder of Mahatma Gandhi. After all, Savarkar had to stand trial for it. So quite cleverly, what happened was that it was decided that a new organization, which people would not associate with the Hindu Mahasabha, should be set up to fight the first general elections. And Shyama Prasad Mukherjee himself, who had been a major leader of the Hindu Mahasabha, started a new political party. There was no other reason except to get away from the taint of the assassination.
This is the birth of Jan Sangh.
This is the birth of the Jan Sangh. And we know also very clearly that Nathuram Godse had been in the RSS and remained in the RSS. According to the testimony of his brother Gopal Godse, he says all of us brothers grew up in the RSS. He also says that Nathuram Godse became a Bodhik Karava, an intellectual worker, and in that capacity went to the Hindu Mahasabha. Again, we are very familiar. The RSS deputes people into the BJP at crucial levels, like Ram Madhav, for example, who's been playing a major role. He's a well-known RSS functionary who is deputed to the BJP. Now, if Ram Madhav does something and we say RSS has nothing to do with it, it would be a travesty of the truth. So, in a similar fashion, from Gopal Godse's testimony, we know that Nathuram continued to be a member of the RSS at the time of the assassination and till his death.
This was also part of a number of attempts made on Mahatma Gandhi's life. In fact, Nathuram Godse is supposed to have been involved with 3 previous attempts on his life as well.
So the suspicion was, and there is evidence in that direction. There were, there was a derailment also
of a train
which happened in Karjat. And many years earlier also there had been similar incidents. But what I would like to emphasize here is, we are not to focus only on whether assassination attempts were made before this one. I think the issue is much broader. Even if we focus on Nathuram Godse, he used to run a newspaper, which used to go on changing names, funded by Savarkar, which he had been doing for the last many years. A very virulent kind of hatred used to be spewed by that newspaper. And for the last many months before Gandhiji's assassination, that newspaper had been virtually asking for the blood of Mahatma Gandhi in one way or another.
In fact, the argument was, even at that time, almost accepted universally, was a climate of hatred was created against Mahatma Gandhi partly because of his position on the riots, and partly, of course, later on what proved to be the partition issue of the partition of the treasury, on which he went on a fast.
In a broader sense also. See, Gandhiji and his commitment to non-violence. So, at a very broader philosophical level as well, the RSS from the beginning, and Savarkar particularly. Savarkar in fact had given a slogan during the war, and that was one reason he said we should support the British in the war effort. He said militarize Hinduism. They wanted to make, Hindus into this aggressive martial force, and they felt that Mahatma Gandhi with his pacifism was an impediment. They also therefore didn't like Buddha ever, and often used to connect the two and say that it was with Buddhism that Hinduism became effeminate. So it goes back to their vision also, or not the vision, but so much as the understanding of India's ancient past.
They wanted to militarize India's past without time travel, without time travel. But leaving that aside, the other part of it is that the RSS, in terms of ideology, was what you said is not only militarization, it was also in favor of violence, wasn't it? Because the fact they always marched with lathis and set up a military school, in that, didn't it also share in some sense common genealogy with the fascists?
The way the whole RSS was organized, kind of bands who would march, and they used to be given arms training as well. In fact, there are government records, especially during the Second World War, which give us detailed information as to what used to go on in these camps, because the government, of course, was worried whether there could be any anti-government activity, of which, of course, there was never any, and they give a clean chit. No worry on this count. There was no anti-British danger from the RSS. Their only preparation was to be against the Muslims, whom they saw as their main enemies, So very much they worked. In fact, the model, very clearly research has shown, was the fascist model of Mussolini, which Munge had actually visited Italy and gone and studied it in great detail, and they very consciously emulated that model. So it was not just a coincidence that they followed this particular method of organizing people into these militant, aggressive, violent bands.
So the fact that they still revere Savarkar, who, as you said, the Kapoor Commission clearly indicated that he was involved with the assassination, and also the various other things they have done later, only now they are trying to own up to Mahatma Gandhi as well, would show that actually Mahatma Gandhi is somebody that didn't really respect, and in fact were quite happy to damn him, as it were, in all its platforms. So how do you see that now they sort of are trying to appropriate even Mahatma Gandhi to the Hindu pantheon?
Well, I think the way I understand the Hindutva forces, RSS and BJP combined, is that one of the consistent principles of their working is that they have no reservations about using anybody and everybody if it can be to their benefit.
Including Patel.
Including Patel or Mahatma Gandhi or Subhash Chandra Bose. I mean, Subhash Chandra Bose, who was one of the most militantly secular people, if I can use that phrase, is also now sought to be aligned with this band. Anybody who can be shown, number one, to have any differences with Nehru. I think that's one principle. Because the one person somehow they still don't want to touch and be able to swallow is Jawaharlal Nehru. At that time, however, it's very interesting that Nehru was not the first target, though he was a target, by the way. Very clearly in the intelligence records of that time, and this is recorded by Nehru himself, and other chief ministers of Bihar, for example, pointed it out, that the game plan of the RSS in 1947, after the partition, building up to the Gandhi assassination, was actually to unleash a kind of civil war, and in that atmosphere carry out a series of assassinations. See, we only talk about the Gandhi assassination and we don't go back to what had actually been planned, because after the Gandhi assassination, the government came down with a heavy hand, put 25,000 RSS workers into jail, banned the RSS. Patel himself as Home Minister did that. So in a sense, that danger was quashed. Because Gandhi was assassinated, the government could actually, a democratic, newly formed government could say, we have to do this.
And the mass revulsion
against exactly, they could do it at that time. Before that, they were still in a quandary, because it was, as I said, not a very easy thing for a newly formed democratic government to crush, after all, what were its own people.
Also the partition was
and
the
everything. There was a lot of fear.
There.
But the game plan, in fact, what happened in Delhi in September of 1947, within 3 weeks of the Indian independence, there was about 10 days of total chaos, and something like 5,000 people lost their lives. And very clearly the reports that came out said that it was the RSS fascist-led gangs who were responsible for these riots, instigating the riots where a large number of Muslims were killed, etc. So, I mean, there's no doubt about it. And Nehru himself, in fact, thought that if they had not managed to curb things the way they did, whole of northern India would have been up in flames. So the situation was very grim, and repeatedly what we get from both Patel and Nehru is that there was a very serious threat to the existence of the Indian state. So we are not just talking about, Gandhi, one individual being targeted. I think we somehow need to get a sense of what was the total situation that they were trying to create at that time to actually do a coup d'etat. Because of the strong feelings among people, especially the refugees, they felt this was the time that they could really, with the slogan of Hindu Rashtra, actually overthrow the government and take power.
Thank you, Mridula. This has been a wonderful discussion. Particularly, you are telling us about the background of Indian history and the RSS, which may not be familiar to most of our viewers. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you for further discussions as the things progress, which unfortunately it might.
Thank you.
This is all the time we have on NewsClick today. Keep watching NewsClick for further episodes.